that it'll pose the next question to you. What was it like to wake up after having never gone to
smiling. It's past midnight there on the west coast. Todd is managing the show for us there. Really important guy there. If these boxes are the same for everybody, did we ever establish that? Are the boxes?
I'm pointing at them for me.
I'm pointing at Andrew, the really important guy. He's looking after our feeds today.
They're different for everybody, so it's always
okay. So I could be pointing to absolutely anybody there, and if I pointed down there, that's not necessarily Russ down there.
You were pointing to Todd though. He is important. So
okay, cool.
Yeah,
he's in the number one slot.
You could probably point to, as long as you don't say a name, you can just say this person is very important, and and then you know it could be anybody. Very important.
Most important person in the whole event. That's Deborah for me. Milton's over there as well. Hey Milton, morning. Oh look, I've never seen that before. Got 2 pages of thumbnails. I better hop over and see. Francisco's Yari's there. Hi Yari Backman. Oh, you probably enjoyed some of Yari's superb images that he shares from the SLU data. Melanie, Simon, Thiago, Helen, Mike C, Roland, Simon O'Brien, Paul, Keith, Jen, Divia's here. Hello, Divya. I think we got some ambassadors in the house tonight, haven't we? So, where are we? 3 minutes away. Melanie's down there as well. See that? Mariana. Cool names, everybody. I'm just stuck with Paul. What are my parents thinking? Russ has switched his video off. It's obviously too late. The bleary eyes have got to him. So I don't know about you lot, but I'm in the UK. It is nearly 6 a.m. here. As you can tell, the bags are baggier than normal. So, but it's going to catch up with you lot in the United States. But in India, we've got loads and loads of viewers today from India because this thing is so well timed for everybody over there. It's like late morning now, about 10:30. You know that Indian time zone? I think it's the only time zone in the world that doesn't stick to on the hour, so they're kind of half an hour in front. Now I do excuse me, my dog's been up with me all night as well, so I expect he's probably going to start whining at some point for his breakfast this morning. If he doesn't, I probably will. So we got a couple of minutes to go. Just raise your hands if you can see a beautiful partial eclipse sun. Yes, you can see it. It's on the screen. Great. That, oh dear. Dog's having a coughing fit. Do excuse me. He's got a SLU membership, so he is entitled to be on the Zoom webinar with everybody. We've got a couple of minutes left until we kind of go live because this is being broadcast everywhere else as well tonight. You know, this is a SLU style party for members, but we're out on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that as well, I think. So how we do it for countdown? My audio okay? Stuff like that. Sharing loads of stuff today. Yeah, thank you, Carol. Hi, Carol. It must be 7 a.m. in the morning, Carol, over there, or bit later.
Yes, it's actually a very good time for me this morning. I've just woken up, had breakfast. It feels like fun. It's going to be a wonderful and fun day. I can't wait for this.
It is. It's going to be a good one. So we are nearly looking at the clock ticking over. Is it going to go? Is it going to go? Let's go. Dog is now upside down, having that fit. As long as he doesn't pull a cable out, we are going to be fine. So I reckon, there we go, we should get underway. So welcome SLUers to our lifestyle party. Please mute your microphones unless you're talking to us, asking a question or anything like that. But anyway, listen, welcome SLUers to our live star party to celebrate what I think is actually my second favorite eclipse, a spectacular Ring of Fire annular solar eclipse. Ring of Fire, annular, kind of mean the same thing. I'll probably use a mix of both, depending on what what brain cells are working. But what we can see here up on the screen at the moment is our live feed, our first live feed. We've got quite a few coming in today. This is from our partners I want to give a special shout out to Mashur Ahmed Al-Wadat. He's a professor of astrophysics at the Sharjah Academy for Astronomy, Space Science and Technology, SAST. That's at the University of Sharjah. Terrific feed here. And as we can see, we've already got a huge chunk of the sun taken out by the moon in this glorious feed. They are in Sharjah, that's in the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, where SLU are going to have a new observatory. Obviously, the situation this year has somewhat delayed that, but we've got some plans afoot for all of that. Now, so we've got some great live feeds coming up. We've got our main feed, which is actually coming from India, because we're not going to see a ring of fire in this particular feed because they're outside of something called the path of annularity, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a sec, because I think what we can do today is going to be very relaxed. We're going to be around for quite a time, so we've got lots of opportunity for questions for you lot. Hello everybody. Hey, look, there's so many people here today, I can't believe it. So loads of opportunities for questions and stuff like that, but we'll look at all the live feeds, and we are also going to introduce our new Eclipse quest, which is our first what's called a moment quest, which is to celebrate a specific event. So only those people who are kind of watching now and snapping images, so go over to the show page and snap images. You're going to be the only people who can finish this quest, because if people are not snapping the images, they won't have the images to do this. But anyway, what else we got? I have got one little thing. We've got Russ Glenn is here. He's going to be joining us later, because if you've got any kids, students or grandkids, or if you know any children basically, you need to listen to Russ a little bit later, because he's got full details of our online space camp, which we're running all summer. So we'll hop over to Russ probably in about 20 minutes time, something like that. But before we remind ourselves of what this annual eclipse is, what's causing it, got some great stuff about 3 types of shadow that the moon casts, because that's what we're looking at the moment. So the moon is casting a shadow, the earth is going into the moon's shadow, which is really cool. But did you know there are 3 types of shadow? Well, we're going to look at those. But I had an email from somebody in India who is going to be able to see this. They're outside of the path of annularity, so they won't see the annular eclipse. They'll see a partial eclipse like this. And they were asking me, how do we watch this safely? And of course, my obvious answer is safely on your screens with our live feeds. But if you are anywhere where the eclipse is visible, which is basically a chunk of Africa, Middle East, India, China, and then you've got the Far East. We've got a feed coming in from Sharon Ahmed in Malaysia a little bit later on. If you are in one of those zones where you can see this, there are some safety tips for watching an eclipse. And the first one is you never look at the sun directly unless you've got proper eclipse glasses. Some people use welding glass and stuff like that. I like to stick to a proper pair of eclipse glasses. All of the feeds that we've got today are using very, very special filters over the telescopes. So definitely don't look through any optical aids like binoculars or telescopes or anything like that. So protect your eyes. Now, if you have got a pair of eclipse glasses, hopefully they're new, but even if they are new, you need to do a test. You need to go up to an old-fashioned incandescent light bulb. Can you remember those? There's people watching out there who haven't got a clue what an incandescent light bulb is. It's an old-fashioned light bulb with a little filament in it. Hold your eclipse glasses up to that light bulb, bright light bulb, and you're checking for little pinpricks of light. And if you see one of those, throw the glasses away. Even the smallest scratch or smallest pinprick in those glasses will let enough light through to damage your eyesight for good. So please be careful out there. Gangsha is here. Hi, Gangsha. She's SLU ambassador. So Carol's here, Noel's here still. Hi, Jenny. Sajath, hello. Yari's here. Stan, hey Stan. Stan's looking nice, relaxed there. Hey, Bob. I want to know a little bit later. We're going to look at the eclipse now and kind of this whole event. But I want to hear a little bit later. So be prepared where you're all from. right? We kind of do a little roll call for anybody who's interested. But anyway, listen, let's have a little think about. Actually, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. Can I very quickly share the quest with you? Because I've only just made it live and I haven't actually checked to see if it's available yet. So here's the SLU website. Hopefully you can all see that. Can you see the SLU website? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yay, thank you, Jenny. Thanks, Ross. Right, so we go to quests down here. I bet there are going to be loads of shared observations of the eclipse later on. So here we go, Ring of Fire, solar eclipse 2020. We got a total solar eclipse coming up later in the year. So here is our quest, and hopefully you are all snapping images, because what we've got here is one heck of a good poster for you to fill out, right? This is going to be your poster. They're all the slots. We'll go into how you can do this, because we've got some really, really cool stuff with how we've done this. And here are all your image slots that you can fill in. We've got 41 image slots, so that's what you're going to try and grab today. All right, I'm just going to go over though, remind people where we can snap these images. So over the show's page, you need to join the show, and there it is. I need to mute that because I'm going to. That's interesting. I don't actually see what the rest of you are seeing the way we do these shows. So, anyway, I'm going to pause that because I don't want that. But here we go. So let's hop over to the SCAS feed, and there it is. So this is what you need to be snapping, right? Now, you cannot snap too many images of this entire event, because what you're going to be able to do is build that. In fact, Andrew, just do a check, make sure that that is updating if you could, because that looks a little bit out of step with the live stream that we were seeing. So worth a little check on that. So anyway, come back here. India is going to be the feed. It's not up yet, but it's going to be the feed that we see Annularity, the Ring of Fire in. So you need to keep a little bit of a close eye on that. Andrew will let us know. He'll alert us later when that one comes online. So let's have a look at that. I'm just going to snap another one just to go. That's the SLU test card. EAC isn't up and running yet. So that's EAC in the Middle East, by the way. That's another one of our feed partners. But anyway, let's hop back to the quest, because we've got some cool information in the quest, which will be a nice little kind of aid memoir. Okay, hop here a little, so switch the fan on. So okay, so I've got a couple of nice diagrams in here. So I think the first thing to do is to maybe ask ourselves, when do we see an annular eclipse? Now, if you've got any questions about this after I've gone through it, then let me know, and we'll do a kind of Q&A on it if you like. But there are three phenomena that have to occur around the same time to create an annular solar eclipse. There's the new moon, there's what's called the moon's apogee, and there are things called the lunar nodes. Now, the new moon, this actually is the only time that we ever get to see a truly new moon. So what you're looking at in that silhouette is the new moon. Not quite actually, because it's when it's kind of central across, that's the actual moment. But the new moon occurs when the moon and the sun have got what's called the same ecliptic longitude. And it's only visible during solar eclipses when we see the new moon as a silhouette, basically in front of the moon. Now, this is a great time this week to start the lunar phases quest if you haven't already done that, because we've set up special missions on Tuesday evening using the Canary 2 ultra wide field telescope to capture an incredibly thin young waxing crescent moon. So make sure you check that out. So new moon is the first phenomena, so we know it's new moon today. The moon has to be at apogee. Now, as you'll probably remember from our recent supermoon star parties, the moon has an elliptical orbit, it's not circular. Now that means that the moon's distance from Earth changes as it orbits the Earth. And when the moon is closest to Earth, it's called perigee, and that's when we get a supermoon when it's large. And if it coincides, actually, it's not necessarily just when it's closest, but it has to be a new moon or a full moon for it to be considered a supermoon. When the moon is furthest away from Earth in that elliptical orbit, it's called apogee, and the moon appears smaller. Now, if that coincides with a new or full moon, it's called a micro or mini moon. Now, we know that the moon and the sun have this extraordinary, I think it's one of the best cosmic coincidences ever. We know that they have extremely similar apparent sizes, so how big they look in the sky. In fact, I'm just going to hop over actually to the live feed a sec, because that'll look a bit nicer while we're talking about this. So look at it, say it must be near greatest eclipse. Andrew, maybe you could look up to see when they are going to be at greatest eclipse, so that we know when that's going to be maximum obscurity. But anyway, so we know that the sun and moon, by this extraordinary cosmic coincidence, are very, very similar sizes, the size they appear in the sky. That's how big they are, right? That fact, combined with knowing the moon's apparent size varies, which we know in its elliptical orbit, is important when it comes to the type of solar eclipses we see. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But the third event or phenomena that has to happen tonight to cause an annular eclipse. We know the moon not only has an elliptical orbit, but it's also tilted at around 6 degrees. About 6 degrees? Anybody correct me if I'm wrong? It's 5 or 6 degrees, isn't it? Now, there are 2 points, and those are called these lunar nodes in the moon's orbit, where that orbit, the path of the moon, intersects with what's called the ecliptic. Now, the ecliptic is the plane of the Earth's orbit around the sun. It's basically the path the sun takes through our sky over the course of a year. Now, if at new moon, the moon isn't close to one of those lunar nodes, from our perspective anyway, the moon is either above or below the sun. So we don't see an eclipse. That's why we don't see an eclipse every single solar cycle, every lunar month. But if the new moon is close to one of those lunar nodes, that's when it passes directly between us, Earth, and the sun, just as we're seeing in our live feed here. So that's kind of the 3 phenomena that have to come together. And it's one of the reasons why this is actually quite a rare kind of eclipse, these annular ring of fire eclipses. Now, I think it's worthwhile, actually. Should we go back to that diagram? So, Andrew, give me a thumbs up if camera's running okay on. So there are these 3 shadows that are cast by the moon. We know a solar eclipse when Earth passes the end of the ocean. But there are these 2, and depending on which one is actually in contact with the Earth's surface, makes a big difference as to what kind of eclipse you see. Now, the first one, the first shadow, you'll maybe recognize some of these from lunar eclipses. So we've got the umbral shadow. Now, the umbral shadow is the moon's dark inner shadow, and it's represented by that black dot, that dense, dark black spot just off the west coast of Africa there. Now, if it touches the Earth and you're within it, you'll see a total solar eclipse when the moon totally obscures the sun. The path of the umbral shadow as it races across Earth's surface is called the path of totality. So that's the black dot there. But then we've got the penumbra, and I've got another diagram that I'll show you in a minute, which kind of makes more sense of this. And you can see that's this huge, and it's thousands of miles across in diameter, this huge lighter shadow. And that's the outer shadow, and it's called the penumbral shadow. Now, if you're within that, you'll witness a partial solar eclipse. So if we hop back really quickly to that live feed from Sharjah in the Middle East, they are currently in the umbral shadow. Now, even places, let's hop back to the old map, so it's a lovely diagram. Even places which are going to be in the next shadow that we talk about, or let's say for total solar eclipse, in that path of totality, have a period of partial eclipse first, because that's what we see. We see it slowly cover the sun until you get your moment, and it can be anything from seconds. If you remember, I traveled all the way to the middle of Africa a few years ago for 13 seconds of totality, but it can also be a couple of minutes long as well. But let's go to the third shadow, and you can see it's marked there. So you can see that the umbral shadow, that dark one, is cone-shaped, but it also extends, and when it extends past its point, that's when we hit our third type of shadow, and this is what we're seeing today. This is an ant-umbral shadow, and this is this lighter shadow that extends beyond that cone-shaped dark umbral shadow, and this is when you see an annular eclipse, and it's because the moon is further away from Earth, so it's not big enough to cover the entire sun. That's when we see that ring of fire. And if you're in that part of the ant-umbral shadow, which is really quite narrow, this path, it does vary over the course of when it travels across the Earth's surface. If you're within that, it's called the path of annularity, and you see an annular eclipse. So let's have a quick look, because we've got another couple of diagrams actually, and then we'll go to a couple of questions. We've got so here we go. This is today's eclipse. So this is the map from today's eclipse, and what you can see here is that's where the shadow touched down in the center of Africa about 2 hours ago now, and the red line here is the path of annularity. So if you are within that very narrow path, maybe 70 miles wide, something like that, you will see an annular eclipse. When you get to the edge of that path, the moon will be not totally centered. Let me put it this way. If you're in the center of the path of annularity, the moon will be perfectly centered in the ring of fire. If you're off to one side in the path of annularity, then the moon is offset to one side, but you'll still get a ring, but it won't be a perfect ring. If you're outside that, in all of that blue gridded area, that's where you're going to experience a partial solar eclipse. So you can see Middle East is down here. This is where the feeds are. They're incredibly close. So it's actually going to be quite a deep partial eclipse. They're going to get quite a lot of the sun obscured. And that's what we call the magnitude of an eclipse, is how much of the sun is covered. But there's also this little thing here. So here we can see India. Hello, India. I know there's loads of people watching from India today, because it's 11, coming up to 11 a.m. I guess over there in India. Give us a thumbs up. About 11. So this is perfectly timed for them, because the sun is getting very, very close to them. And this is where on the globe they're going to see the greatest eclipse. So that's quite a cool place to be at the moment, and we've got a feed coming up a little bit later. But you can also see here we've got some feeds coming from Malaysia a little bit later. They're going to see a very partial solar eclipse. So this 0.20, what we're seeing down there, they're going to see 20% of the sun. If you're on that line, you're going to see 20% of the sun covered by the moon. By the way, when I'm giving these explanations about this, it's not unusual for me to confuse the Earth, Sun, and Moon, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, listen, here is a great little animation from NASA, and this is of today's Ring of Fire eclipse. Now, if you look really carefully on this, you can actually see the little black dot. It'll start again in a second. There you go. There's the partial. That's the penumbral shadow, the big grey one. But you can just see that tiny little dot, and that's the antumbral shadow. This tiny, tiny little shadow, about 70 miles in diameter, and it crosses the Earth's surface. So that's where you want to be. But look, we're just in darkness. So the Canary Islands just missed this. At the Canary Islands Observatory here in the UK, we just missed it. I looked up on a star chart. So let's hop back to the live feed. Are you all snapping images, by the way? Give us a thumbs up, because if you're not going to be able to do that poster, and you'll be very upset because it's a one-off. Oh, look at that. Oh. Andrew, did you see when they're at maximum? Do you know what time? Can Andrew hear me? Andrew's concentrating on the feeds. Oh no, he can hear me. You can see. He's smiling. Anybody got the time of maximum? Oh, he's there. Andrew, did you manage to check
the timings? Yeah.
When are they at maximum?
Okay, so totality starts at 04:47. Maximum at 06:40. Total end at 8:32 is all UTC, and it ends at 9:34.
So 06:40 is an hour and 20 minutes before they're going to be at maximum. That seems like a long time to me, given just how much of the sun is already obscured. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But look at that. That is so appropriate, isn't it, for one of our Middle East feeds. It's not a crescent moon, but it's a crescent sun. Wow. I'm sorry, but talk amongst yourselves for a second, because I need to just do something here. That is such a good shot. So I'm going over to the shows page. I'm going over to I'm going to mute that, stop that, because I don't want that playing. I'm going to hop over to that feed. Oh, look at that. Oh, look how much it's moved. Ooh. Right, now that is going to be available now in my poster. Do you want to have a quick look at the quest? Thumbs up, thumbs down, before we get Russ on to talk about online space camp. Quick, yeah, okay. Oh, even Russ is saying it. Russ has obviously got a cup of coffee. So he's saying, yeah, leave me for 5 minutes. Take a look at the quest. That'll keep me busy. Right, let's have a look. You can also get to your quests if they're underway by pressing the top right hand down to my quests. And we'll see 2 tabs in this particular view. Sorry, it might take a little bit of time because my machine is doing lots of stuff at the moment. So, by the way, if you're watching on your internet, then hop over to join the community. You can join us on controllers, telescopes. I know what I meant to do, Andrew. At the beginning of this, the Canary Islands was still online when we started the show. I think we had about 5 minutes left. I was going to show the last missions of the night. Never mind. There's always tomorrow night, isn't there? Right, here is the quest. Let's scroll down. Now, everything I've just told you about now, if you want to recap, if you want it without my 6 a.m. stuttering, you can read it all here. So there's a good reminder. You can rewatch the show here. We haven't even watched it first time yet, have we? But you can rewatch it there. So there's a recap. Tells you what an annular eclipse is. All the normal stuff in the quest. But no questions. It's no questions in the quest, good or bad. I don't know. I don't think Carol will like it. Carol likes to stretch the grey brain cells. Right, this is the next step. Step 2 is the one that we want to have a real good look at today. We'll do it after Russ. We'll take a good look after Russ. But here we've got our poster. Now, this is just a dummy poster, all right? So we've got 41 image slots. Now, you can capture more than 41 images in all of our feeds today and put them in your poster. And you can put any image in any slot, which is quite good because I've got something to show you. I'll show you a little bit later. I think it's really cool. Andrew and I came up with this idea. It's just good. So that was a test image I used earlier. But look, there is my image. So this is a special object in the SLU 1000 object. So it just comes up as that. Now, slot 41, the one I've just chosen, is a special slot. We'll see in a sec. So while we're waiting for the circle, thought I had time for a slow coffee then. But it's very unprofessional, but I'm amongst friends. So there we go. So 41 is that middle slot. So hey Paul. Paul's just been joined on the sofa by his partner. Right, I'm going to hop over now. Important one. Do not claim your badge on a quest until you know you never, ever, ever want to make any changes to it. Because as soon as you claim your badge, the quest is locked. You can't change which images, you can't change your questions, you can't change anything about it. So big tip there. There, look at that. Isn't that a cool poster? I like it. But I got some really cool things, right, to show you, because imagine all of these slots. You don't have to use all of the slots. Now, some of you are already, I bet Yari is already thinking, oh, I know what I can do with that. You can just place some images in different slots. You can go along the rows, so you can do it kind of chronologically. How about a spiral? Go along, down, round, as the eclipse progresses. Or you could just use kind of the center of each one and form a circle of images. And I'll show you how you can then edit that afterwards to make this poster absolutely the bee's knees. But while I flick back, we'll go into that a little bit more. Let's have a quick look at that feed. So I'm just going to tell you, actually, give you a quick update before we get Russ on. So this is to our partners. I always have to read this because they changed. It used to be just SCAS, and then they added a couple of words. So it's now SAASST, which is not easy to say, and you can't kind of say SAS. Maybe we should have a poll. Maybe we should have a Zoom poll how you pronounce that. But anyway, it's the Sharjah Academy for Astronomy, Space Science and Technology at the University of Sharjah. And they never let us down with a good eclipse feed. What we can see here, I wonder, I'm going to look up, while Russ is telling us about online space camp, I'm going to take another look to see just how much of the sun is going to disappear. They're not going to see annular, but they are seeing a very deep partial eclipse from what you can see there. But we've got feeds coming up from Sirsa in India. That is in the path of annularity. That's going to be a good one. We've got another feed.
Look at the moon. You can just see
Helen, could you mute yourself, please? Thank you very much. We've got another feed from Abu Dhabi. Now that is online. We'll show you that after Russ is finished. What else have we got? We've got another feed coming in from Malaysia and the Dubai Astronomy group. Andrew, I'm not sure. I'll send you the URL for that because I'm not sure you've got that. But anyway, listen, that's enough for me for a moment, because we are going to hear, don't forget, if you know of any children anywhere in the world who like a bit of space, like a bit of technology, stuff like that. If you know any children anywhere, you can listen to
associated with them, not only the Greek myths, but also myths from American Indians and from other cultures around the world. So, doing all kinds of fun stuff here in the online space camp. And it's really just I think it's just the tip of the iceberg for what we're doing with education here at SLU. And the community, I think, knows this. I think everyone is benefiting from the educational opportunities here at SLU. The quests are available to everybody. So we have students that are digging into it. We also have a partnership that we've recently formed with the International Planetarium Society. So we have a lot of planetariums that are jumping in with us as well and starting their own astronomy clubs. And those clubs are, they're doing outreach for their members using the SLU telescopes and using the SLU shows. So really able to touch a lot of people's lives this summer. And, I just want to call out a couple of the planetariums that we're partnering with. We got the Fleischmann Planetarium, which is out in Reno, Nevada. And they've been doing some great stuff with their club. We've got the Thomas Planetarium in Anchorage, Alaska. They've just recently joined with us, and they're going to be using us for their summer camp as well. So, SLU has our online space camp, but other people are also getting subscriptions for the young people and allowing them to also participate on their own camps. And so it's really exciting, I think, to see all the things that are going on. The Students Corner Club we're almost at 900 members in the Students Corner Club. So we're, I imagine in the next few weeks, we'll be at 1,000, which will be astounding and so much fun to have so many students posting their first pictures, posting their 100th pictures, posting in the discussion section, and of course coming to our online space camp. So the online space camp is hosted through the Students Corner. So when you join SLU as a student, you are put into the Students Corner Club, and all the information for the space camp is found in that club. So please make sure once you join SLU, you go to that club and take a look. All the information is going to be there. I'm also posting some activities you can do at home. So we've had students who have been using themselves as a sundial and then tracing that outline with sidewalk chalk. We've had students, I sent home an activity for them to make some rockets using effervescent tablets. So, lots of fun things that we're doing that take place on SLU using our telescopes, but also things they can do during the day that keeps them occupied as well. One other thing that we are doing that I think is really fantastic, and I would encourage any of you who are educators out there or know educators, we also have some free professional development about how you can use SLU in your classroom. SLU is an incredibly powerful tool for learning astronomy, but also for learning the scientific process. So if you want to get an idea a little bit more about that, you can reach out to me at russ@slu.com, and I'm happy to plug you in with our professional development for this summer. We've got SLU in classrooms, but we've also got SLU at the college level. So college labs are using us this summer for their observation-based labs, and we're going to be seeing more and more of that in the fall. So a lot of exciting things going on at the educational part of SLU, which really is all of SLU. I mean, we're just a part of this amazing interface that we have.
Russ, what's the most popular quest that students in Space Camp are doing, do you think? Have you had much feedback?
Well, so, they're all jumping in with our starter quests, which is really great. It's a good
Cosmic
place for them
Explorer?
to be.
That's a good place to start. Cosmic Explorer.
Cosmic Explorers is good. I think the students have really been enjoying, we really enjoyed the Spring-Fall Celestial Gems quest. That was really great. And then we launched into the Messier quest, Messier Challenge. Big one, yeah, collection. This last week we did have a couple of days without where the weather did not cooperate. So, but one of the wonderful things I think about the camp is it gives kids the opportunity to really learn how to optimize their time with SLU. So, and that's super valuable for them. They're often running, they're all doing their own things, on the days we're not having camp. So,
Nice.
yeah, those are the popular ones. I'll tell you the most popular thing, I think, is we've been reading the 12 Labors of Hercules because we were looking at the Hercules cluster. And the kids love the 12 Labors of Hercules. They always want to hear the next labor. So we have not made our way through it entirely, but we are working our way through it over camp. So we're having some fun. We're doing all kinds of things. It's just been a blast. So I think the kids are having a good time. And me too.
Have you got anything lined up? Because we're obviously, this is an eclipse, so we know it's new moon today. The new moon is too close to the sun. Hey, listen, that's the first ring of fire we've got down in the bottom right-hand side for mana. Wow, that is pretty cool. This is, by the way, Alfie, sorry to digress there, but I just spotted that. This is our partners down in the Middle East, once again, in Dubai, the Dubai Astronomy Group. We've been working with these guys for years, and loads of their members have been piling in, getting feeds together. And you can just see there, they are losing annularity. So that was a very, very short period of annularity that passed over. Let's keep a little bit of an eye on some of these, because the path, actually, when it goes through the Middle East, this path of annularity, when that antumbral, if you remember, shadow is crossing the Middle East, is very narrow, and it doesn't go through very many major cities or towns. And of course, so many places in lockdown, so many people were preparing to travel off to get into the path of annularity, but nobody can travel. Here we go, annularity, top left. That's pretty cool. Now, we haven't got these as individual feeds. The DAG have kind of pulled these together for us, but that looked like, you hopefully seeing that. That looks like that's over. They're obviously a long way away from the center, and the annular phase, when you're further away from what's called greatest eclipse, is not that long, as we're seeing. I mean, look at that Manav feed down in the bottom right hand side. That's already well outside of annular. So are we going to get any of those others? I'm afraid they didn't tell me the location of these before we started the star party tonight, because we could have looked up to see when they were going to hit the annular phase. But look at that, you never see such a thin crescent sun as that. It's pretty cool. Russ, I was going back to what I was saying there before we were treated to our first glimpse of annularity, ring of fire, was new moon. There we see it, new moon, a true new moon in front of the sun. It's too close to the sun to view with the nighttime telescopes over the coming nights. But on Tuesday, we've set up these special missions when the moon is really, really low. So members can't schedule the telescopes when the moon is so low. So we have to set up these special ones. So if students watch those live missions and snap images, it's a fabulous way of starting the lunar phase quest to get a really, really thin crescent moon. So when is your next session? Is it Monday, Tuesday?
Our next session is actually the first week of July. So
right.
We're all, though, interacting through the Students' Corner Club. So I'll be sending out some posts to remind them, let them know what to go look at. I also encourage the students to go and use the SLU solar telescope. I mean, that's such a powerful opportunity for them to take a look at our own sun, which, it's the thing that provides life provides all the energy for life on Earth. So, we got to give it some love. I want to get those kids taking pictures of it every day, looking for changes in the features. So that's one thing I've encouraged them to do, but I'll definitely be posting about the good time to start the lunar quest.
The lunar phase quest. And it sounds like I ought to get my act into gear and get you the solar features quest done as well, published too, because we have been treated to some absolutely astounding solar features, some of the prominences that we've seen just over this last week. Then we had last week that huge active area, active region, and we watched it over days. In fact, we'll hop over maybe to observations because a few people have shared that. I think Cameron shared it as it was going across the sun. But anyway, Russ, you're going to come back a bit later. You're going to tell us, well, you're not going anywhere, but you're going to kind of open your microphone up and tell us a little bit more about Online Space Camp a bit later. And I do think
we might do a little reading. I mean, I've got some good reading material, some stuff. So who knows what we're going to do later? So we'll see.
Okay. And do consider raising the age limit on Online Space Camp. Cheers, Russ.
I've gotten a lot of emails about that, so maybe we need to look at like a senior camp or something. I don't know.
Hey, good idea. Oh, I've just realised that you're classing me as a senior.
No,
Thanks, time for you to go, Russ. Time for you to go. No, switch your microphone. You're welcome. Yeah, maybe see you later. Someone kick him out, will you? That was Russ, Glenn.
I'll be very happy if you come out with a senior camp.
Nice one, Bonnie. I'm with you there, mate. I think there's a few of us here that would kind of like an organised. This is a good idea, isn't it?
We'll call it. It's Elder Hostel. We'll call it Elder Hostel. I mean, it changes everything, right? It changes everything.
Elder sounds like you're just full of wisdom and learning.
Exactly.
I like that, Elder. Yeah. No, I like that idea, but genuinely, I think that would be a really cool thing to do. It's kind of some organized progression that we can hop through some of the quests together. Be a good reason for a star party. Who needs a reason for a star party to get together with all the SLU members around the world? But sounds pretty good to me. Anybody up for that? Thumbs up with Stan. Yeah, Gretchen. Hey, Gretchen. Satyurth, yes. Carol's always up for it. So thank you very much. So, no, a few of you not so. Oh yeah, down there. Sorry. Can't see some of the names, but yeah. Oh, look, we got 4 pages of SLU members. This has to be biggest star party ever. Wow, cool. I think we got some. Yeah, I just saw Divya's there. We got some Carols here. Andrew is a SLU ambassador as well. By the way, if anybody's interested in learning more about the SLU ambassador program, then email Divya at slu.com. Divya is DIVYA, and she leads the SLU ambassador program at SLU. It's pretty cool. Carol's one, Andrew's one. I'm sorry, I don't know if anybody else is here. I can't see anybody. I've got so many screens in front of me, but here we go. Look, we're still on the Dubai astronomy group I think they look like they were from a number of places. But listen, just while Russ was starting, when I was pretending to listen to him, but wasn't actually, I just looked up our main feed that we had from Sharjah. They're actually going to get 86.5%. So 86% of the sun's surface is going to be obscured. And actually, we need to hop back to that because that happened 5 minutes ago. So that was, right, let's just hop back over. That one. Do excuse me, we're juggling a bit today. So what we've no, it's not that one. There we go. So that is just about 85% of the sun covered, which is pretty cool. So what we saw there was that we switched to the Dubai astronomy group just at the right time, because let me just show you. Actually, I'll show you the map that I'm actually looking at for this. So here we go. This is this nice little intelligent map. So here we've got the Earth, and we can see this path of annularity. So if you are in that path, you're going to see an annular eclipse. If you're outside of it in the green zone, you'll see a partial solar eclipse. And what you can do with this map is you can zoom in, and I just popped a little pin there, and you can pop a pin anywhere. So if we popped a pin in the path, we can see it's telling us, yes, there's going to be an annular eclipse. That's what you're going to see. The duration of it is 46 seconds. Obscuration 98%. Of course, on an annular eclipse, it never reaches 100%, because we've still got that ring of fire. But what we saw there is that we said at the beginning of this show. That's cool. The Antumbra shadow. So this lighter shadow touched down over here in Africa, and it races across the surface at tremendous speed. I think actually it can go hundreds, certainly hundreds of miles an hour. Maybe somebody can look up, do a bit of Googling or something, and look up the speed that the path of totality and path of annularity. In other words, the speed of that shadow, because it's only a dot. We're seeing a path there, but that's the path it takes over maybe 3 hours. So it's whizzing across. So what we saw there when we were looking at those speeds, they were all reaching their peak of how much the sun was going to be skewed. If they were inside the path, then they saw the annular. If they're outside of it, like our Sharjah feed, then they're seeing a partial. And up here, it was telling us 86%, and that's where I was getting the time from. Now, that shadow is now racing across. I think that's still it's going to be the Gulf, isn't it? Indian Ocean. I don't know where the Arabian and Gulf and Indian Ocean actually meet up. But it's then going to hop across Pakistan. Very few feeds coming out of Pakistan. But then we have got our #1 feed, and we're hoping that AJ Talwar is going to be in Sirsa. And if I can just find Sirsa for you, it's right up here. I think I've got to zoom in a bit more. And you can see actually that the greatest eclipse is occurring just on the border of India, and it occurs in the Nandu Devi National Park. Now, if you're having a sense of deja vu, the last annular eclipse was incredibly similar to this. It had an incredibly similar path. I'm just trying to find Sirsa. I think it's a smaller place. If anybody can see it, shout. I think it's somewhere. It's somewhere close up here. All right, Sirsa. I can't actually see it, but this is the rough time where. So what we've got here is the eclipse has already started. So the partial has 6. Yeah, the partial is already underway for them. So we will maybe ask Andrew to check to see if their feed is up and running yet. And then at 06:38 or roughly, so about another 3/4 of an hour, no, about an hour. In about an hour's time, that's when we should be seeing annular. So Andrew, if you are there, I don't know if you can tell me whether or not they have got their feed up and running yet. Excuse me, just rearranging some things on the screen.
Is this India, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, it still says waiting for AJ, so it's not live.
Okay,
Unless
so
he swapped to his URL.
No, he wouldn't do that on us, surely. No one's ever done that to us in the past, have they? Yeah, okay. I will just check my email. Now, listen, while I'm just checking that, folks, any questions so far? Oh, hold on a sec. I've got an email from... Oh, no, we missed it. Oh, dear. Actually, we might be able to do a replay on this. Andrew, I'm just going to send you something, which is from Oman. That was Sharjah's, so our partners here, who are providing this feed that we're seeing. secured another feed from Oman, which is in the path of annularity. So we might take a little look at that. But anyway, what I was going to say, folks, was been too much of me so far. Got any questions, anybody? If you have, unmute your microphone because I won't be able to see all of the thumbnails there. So there are some Q&As actually in there, aren't there? So, yeah, it's just people saying where they're from. Actually, where is everybody from? In chat, so you can go down and talk in chat and say where you're from. But anybody got any questions so far on this Ring of Fire annular eclipse?
Hi, Paul. I had just one tiny question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just
Where
wanted-
are you speaking from, first of all?
I'm in Maryland right now. It's 1:51 a.m.
Oh, nice one. Well done for staying up. Good work.
Yeah.
What's the
I just
question?
wanted to ask. This is the first time I'm reading about Ant Umbra, so I just wanted to ask if Umbra is supposed to be darker than Ant Umbra or no.
Yes, it is. So the umbral shadow is the one that causes a total solar eclipse. And it's darkest because the moon is large enough to cover the entire sun. You don't see anything of the sun. Now, there are variations of that. So if you think about that umbral shadow being that cone, if the moon is very close to the Earth, then more of that cone is kind of penetrating Earth, which actually means we get a far longer total solar eclipse because the moon is bigger, so it takes longer to go over.
Right.
But actually, some of the best total solar eclipses are when the moon and the sun are very close to being the same size, because that's when we get most Bailey's beads. It's when we get beautiful prominences that we can see. Bailey's beads, by the way, so that this, you can see it here in our live stream, can't you? You can see just how close the apparent size of the sun and moon are.
Right.
They're so close that on some eclipses, in fact, you can even see it on some annular eclipses, like this one, but it's for a fleeting moment. Bailey's beads are the little bits of sunlight which are still able to come through the valleys which are on the limb of the moon. And they're the most beautiful things. They almost sparkle, and you get them kind of sparkling around as the moon is slowly moving over. So umbral shadow, very, very dark because it basically obscures the entire sun. Then you've got this penumbral shadow, and that's where Sharjah is at the moment. So this feed that we've got at the moment, they are in the penumbral shadow. So we're partially shaded, but we've still got some direct sunlight hitting us. So that's a lighter shadow. Then you've got this ant umbral shadow, and this ant umbral shadow is this weird thing. It's the extension of that umbral cone, and the cone kind of turns inside out, if you like. So although the moon is centrally placed over the sun, we're still in some direct sunlight because it's not big enough to cover that ring of fire. Now, those are the three types of eclipses. But some people, and I wasn't actually aware, that there's a fourth type of solar eclipse, and it's called a hybrid eclipse. And this is what we witnessed in Africa. My calendar in my head is, I never remember. I don't know how old I am, let alone when this event actually occurred, but it's sometime over the last 10 years. Stan's laughing. Stan is sympathizing with me there. How it looks like he's sympathizing as well. But anyway, a hybrid eclipse is when the tip of that cone, so the tip of the umbral shadow is, and the spacing of it, don't forget that the Earth is curved, right? So the distance that tip is at changes depending on where it's hit the Earth. So what you can land up with is a hybrid eclipse where, so in the case of today's path, when it hit on the west coast of Africa, we had a ring of fire eclipse. But then, as the shadow moved across Earth, the Earth-moon distance was closing between them, and it then turned into a total solar eclipse. And you never see both at the same place, but on the west coast of Africa, we had feeds coming in of an annular ring of fire eclipse, and then by the time it got over to Kenya, we experienced probably the most magical moment I've ever had in astronomy, and it was this 13 seconds of totality, and it was so astonishing because we'd had a dust storm just as we started our live coverage. We had to pack all the equipment up under big tents and tarpaulins and stuff like that. We had satellite communications, which were horrendous to try and stream live feeds on. And we'd had a 5-day expedition in 4x4s over the roughest possible ground you could ever imagine across Africa in the worst conditions camping. And it was just exhausting. So the stress of actually getting there, we arrived late, we arrived at midnight, and the eclipse was due to start early the next morning. So all of that stress, and then we get clouded out. But then just at the moment of totality, we kept all the cameras running, bang, there was this opening in the clouds, and we managed to see totality. And the moment in Slough has gone down in history because it's when Cox blubbed, basically. A grown man was in tears. So that was my qualification really for probably joining the students online space camp. I still cry, and I'm proud of it. Anyway, listen, any more questions? Thank you very much, Satyarth. I hope I pronounced your name right. And we managed to see totality. And hey, Francisco. In Slough has gone down in history because it's. Can you mute the show or get a microphone close to you because we're getting some feedback. Within years. So that was my qualification really for probably joining the students online space camp. I still cry, and I'm proud of it. Anyway, listen. Any more Francisco, questions? could you mute your microphone because we're getting quite a lot of feedback. You need to turn the volume down of the show. You've got the show, I think, playing somewhere, and then ask. Anybody else? While Francisco's no, we can still hear the show. Or joining the students online space camp. Sorry, Francisco, I've had to mute you because we can hear the background of the event playing. While Francisco sorts that out, anybody else got any questions for us? Look at that.
And I have a question for you.
Hey, Keith.
Thank you very much for this wonderful show. I love the Star Party. And on a lighter note, I'm in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, okay.
Yes, sir. So on a lighter note, apart from all the wonderful knowledge that we've learned, we have to get down to the nitty gritty. This is a quest. How many gravity points are we going to earn?
100 gravity points, Keith.
That's it?
Listen, come on. If you look at the life cycle of stars,
SCA is 100.
200 gravity points for that. I did think about this one, but come on, we're giving you
I'm joking.
I know, but we're giving you an easy ride because there are no questions in it. All right, so a lot of the quests have multi-choice questions and stuff like that.
Fair enough. So thank you for your excellent work.
Yeah, we kind of.
Well, did you do the voiceover for the Pluto rediscovery?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's excellent. I am an educator, and I totally plan on sharing that with my students. It's my favorite favorite quest. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much for that. And we were trying something a little bit new, and Russ actually had quite a lot of positive feedback from a lot of the classrooms on that one. And John Boisvert, who did his first quest launch last week, the life cycle, the life and death of stars, which is an epic quest, absolutely epic. He's going to do one of those kind of little video storylines. First of all, I'm also working on the next quest that I'm doing. Is about Cepheid variables, which is Henrietta Swan-Leavitt. So we're going to tell the story of her. It's actually one of the levels that you can be at Slough, which is quite cool. Hey Russ, give us a thumbs up. Are you coming back on to tell us a little bit more about Online Space Camp?
I would love to talk about Online Space Camp. Among other things, I can talk about lots of things, and you should hear me on Online Space Camp. And I would like to mention that, you know, we jest a little bit about, you know, can people who are not students join Online Space Camp, but they are on the SLU show page. So if you feel like you're missing out and you want to go check it out, go check it out. Go see what we're doing. Now, you can't be in our Zoom webinar unless you're a student, but that's just the way it is. And you know, we do things a little bit differently because we are working with kids, so we don't promote everyone to panelists and that sort of thing. I'm the only face people will see, and that's just for privacy purposes. So
it's a safe environment, isn't it? And it's the same in Students' Corner Club as well.
It is a completely safe environment. You know, we want the kids to feel like they can ask all the questions that they want, and you know, and they certainly do. We can get tons of questions, and you know, I think you know, one thing that you were just talking about, and this is something that I always try to talk to my students about. I've been in the classroom for many years, and you know, with my students in the classroom, but also with my new students here at SLU, you know, I think you were talking about seeing that eclipse that brought you to tears. I think there's those special moments that we all have that can really change our lives, and it can come down to a moment, you know, and there may be a student out there watching this show tonight. I mean, I think you've done such great work with this quest. I love it. I love this moment quest. It's just awesome, and all the quests are awesome. I mean, the work that you and your team are doing with the quests is so great. Well, I mean, you deserve it. They are life-changing. They're great. They're great products, and you know, they're wonderful things for students to experience, and they're wonderful things for adults to experience as well. So I just
yeah, I don't think we've ever launched a feature, Russ, in SLU's 17-year history since 2003, which has proved so popular. And one of the interesting things is that even the old hands, even the experienced amateur astronomers amongst us, you know, are doing them all. And you know, the team's certainly enjoying creating them. And we've got you know, quite a good cross section in our quest creation team now. You know, so we've got some really back to basics quests for even junior school kids coming up, but also at the other end of the scale, we've got a whole stack of high school and college quests starting as well. And you know, all of these quests, any normal SLU member can do any of them. So, but yeah, we've got some great ones planned actually.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And one thing that I always you know, want to talk to my students about as well, and I say it every night, and so if they're out there listening, they're going to say, oh yeah, Russ is saying it again. I always tell them the stars belong to them. You know, I mean, I think we hear the old stories, and we know the asterisms, that the patterns that have been seen in the stars. But I always encourage my kids to go out there and make up their own stories, make up your own asterisms. The stars they belong to you just as much as they belong to anybody who's been on this planet. So, you know, get out there and make up your own stories about it. Have some fun with it, and you know, you make up some little of your own patterns with your friends. You know, go out at night, make up your own patterns, come back in and look up those stars that you were just looking at. Look them up on SLU. Plan a mission. I think those kinds of things are really amazing, and they, I think, highlight the power of what you can do with SLU when you can go outside and pick a star out of the sky and then come back in and point a telescope at it. It's pretty cool stuff. So,
hey Russ, I've just been told that on the event page, the Dubai Astronomy Group feed is in the camera and live, but I would recommend to everybody at the moment this the University of Sharjah feed at the moment, I think, is giving us my favorite view at the moment. Look at that, that's my favorite so far. So talking of quests, Russ, you were gonna do something else. So while you do that, I'm just going to hop over to my Quest and change my favorite image in my Quest.
Okay, great. Yeah, please do. So, you know, I've actually have some students who are actually have been emailing me tonight. They're joining right now and asking me how to get involved with this. So, you know, certainly, you know, get in here. If you're on the live stream watching it, maybe you can join SLU and jump right in here and start on this quest. I think the quests they're such a powerful tool for you to learn astronomy, and you're going to have some fun with it. You're going to earn some. You heard us talking earlier about gravity points. So, you know, you can earn gravity points and you can level up on SLU. So level up on SLU, you could challenge your friends to some friendly competition. I know in my astronomy club, one of my great friends, I think he's on this still right now, Todd Council, he's always throwing down the gauntlet about gravity points to me. So you know, start up a friendly competition with you and your friends. You know, with students, they love it. They dig right in. They love to jump into those, seeing who can get the most gravity points within each club. You know, from a classroom perspective, we use our astronomy club with your class. So if you are an educator and you want to really get the most out of it, you can certainly use it for demonstration purposes, but I think it's such a powerful thing when each kid has their own account and each kid is able to earn their gravity points and see the fruits of their labor, their own labors, as they're, you know, collecting images, completing quests, earning gravity points, leveling up, you know, challenging themselves and challenging their friends. I think they can have a ton of fun doing this. And certainly the quests are one way to do that. The other way is just engaging with our clubs. So when you engage with our clubs, you're engaging with the community, you're sharing the thing you know, you're sharing research that you're doing, you're helping other people learn. That's really something that's really important to us here at SLU, is that we have a lot of, people just sharing their knowledge, sharing their questions, sharing their answers, and you know, we give you some gravity points for doing that. We want you to enjoy your time on SLU, and we want you to earn a little bit of points when you're willing to you know, put yourself out there.
Absolutely. Right, Russ, have you got anything else for us at the moment?
Not at the moment. I mean, I can read a Greek myth if people are interested, but I know if my students were out there, they'd want that. But you know, well, maybe later as time wears on.
Are you sure? Are you sure we could do it now if you fancy it? I think that would be a nice little break for me. It might even give me the opportunity of reaching the kitchen, getting the kettle on.
All right.
I mean, how long is this thing? Have I got time for breakfast as well? A full English breakfast, maybe. Maybe. What is it? What is that? Is it poached eggs, or what are you making? Full English breakfast: sausage, bacon, black pudding, fried egg, fried bread, mushrooms, tomatoes. Now I'm starting to dribble now.
Sounds great. I know.
My dog's starting to dribble as well.
You know, it's late for me, but I could still go for a late night breakfast. I mean,
that's the thing with a full English breakfast. It doesn't have to be
college.
Just breakfast. It can be any time of the day. Nice. How long are you gonna to go for, Russ?
Well, I've got a whole book of Greek myths here. So, no, you know, maybe 10 minutes. 5-10 minutes? Is that too much? Is that too much?
No.
All right.
Well, we'll soon see. It depends how many people are left in the Zoom webinar at the end of it, really, isn't it?
They start dropping off. Well, I would certainly understand that.
No, I'm sure.
No, this is a gripping story. So,
well,
you know,
listen. One of the things, Russ, that you know used to be the most popular thing that we used to do during shows is our producer was really into mythology and associated to astronomy, and it always used to be an incredibly popular segment of the show. And still, you know, astronomers learn the night sky by learning the constellations. And it's, you know, there's no better way of learning the constellations than learning the original myths behind them. So this is absolutely perfect. So over to you for it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to jump right in then. So, you know, if you have a cup of tea or something, this is a good time for you to pull that out. Maybe get a snack, that sort of thing. I'm going to read a story to you, and hopefully I don't butcher the names too much. I was born in Greece, but I'm not Greek. I was born in Athens. My father was in the U.S. Navy and was stationed over there. But so I've always felt a connection to the Greek myths, and I will do my best. This one's the Chariot of the Sun. So this talks about the sun, but also maybe a little bit about what we're involved in today. So Helios, son of the Titans Hyperion and Thea, was the god who drove the chariot of the sun each day from east to west across the sky, spreading light and warmth over the world. At nightfall, he would return to his home in the east in a great golden bowl, borne on the river Oceanus, which encircled the earth. There he would rest before preparing to set off once more on his journey as morning drew near again. His chariot was of gold, drawn by 4 fiery horses with golden manes, and he himself wore a golden helmet, sparkling with jewels of all kinds. Everyone who looked at him had to shade their eyes to avoid being blinded by the dazzling shafts of light that played all around him. Phaeton was Helios' son by Clymene the Nereid, one of the 50 daughters of Nereus, the sea god. He was brought up in the then fertile land of Egypt. Though Phaeton could see his father from a distance each time he passed across the sky, Helios' home was far away, and his daily task left no time for him to visit his child. If he had done so, the story of Phaeton might have well been a happier one. For as the boy grew up, he was taunted by his companions. They did not believe him when he told them that the sun god was his father. They thought that it was an idle boast to cover up the fact that Phaeton's father had left home. "I will prove to you that you are wrong," Phaeton said angrily, for he was proud of his father, and his mother had taught him always to stand up for himself in arguments. He thought for a while and decided that there was only one way in which he could show that he was telling the truth. He must visit Helios and ask of him a favor which, if granted, would leave no doubts in the minds of the other boys. So he set off, and after many days reached the place where his father's palace towered up beyond the eastern horizon. "I am Phaeton, your son," he said, as soon as he came to his father. "I have journeyed a long way from the home of my mother in Egypt to see the god who is my father and to ask him a favor." Helios granted his son warmly. "You have only to ask," he said at once. But when Phaeton asked him what he wished to do, he frowned. "What you ask is not possible," he said. "Ask anything of me but that. Skill and experience and great strength of arm are needed to do what you suggest. You are too young still to be entrusted with such a task." For Phaeton, of course, had asked his father if, for one day, he could take Helios' place and drive the sun chariot across the sky. His friends would then see him and could not doubt that he had spoken the truth. Phaeton continued pleading, and for a while Helios remained firm, but he had given his word, and eventually he reluctantly granted his wish. Very well, he said at last, "but it must be for one day only. My horses are wild and untamed, and since time began, no one but myself has been entrusted to control them and hold them to their course. Go with great care. Drive neither too high nor too low. Follow the broad path we have beaten over the centuries, and keep your hands always firmly on the reins. For if the horses are given their own leads, disaster will surely follow." Dawn was approaching fast as Phaeton climbed into the sun god's chariot and took the reins in his hands. The horses seemed quiet and docile, and he felt confident as he cracked his whip and spurred them away into the clear night air. Up into the heavens they soared, and as they went, their light first touched the tops of the hills in the east, spreading downwards to the valleys and to the villages crouching in the hollows below. The horses tossed their heads, and their golden manes streamed out behind them. A wild light came into their eyes as they felt once more the freedom of the skies, and they sensed that the strong arm and iron will of Helios was not there to guide them. As they passed over Phaeton's homeland, he looked down and saw, far below, the tiny houses where he and his friends lived, the doors still firmly shut against the night. "How will they know me?" thought Phaeton. "I must take the horses down lower so that they will recognize me and see just what it means to have a god for a father." Cracking his whip over the horses' heads, he urged them downwards, away from the path beaten across the sky by a million journeys down towards the earth. The horses plunged wildly, diving down closer than Phaeton had intended, so that the trees and rocks seemed to swoop up at him, then away as the chariot veered suddenly sideways and up again. From the corner of his eye, he saw a panic-stricken group of his friends cowering beside his house. Then they disappeared from view again as the fiery chariot dipped and rolled. By now, the horses knew that they were the masters. They skimmed low over the earth's surface, searing the trees and grasses, withering the corn and setting cities ablaze with the terrible heat of the sun. The fertile land of Egypt became a red, barren desert, except for a thin thread of green where the Nile waters flowed. For a time, even the great river itself shrank to nothing as the water boiled and steamed. The next minute, the horses were galloping high at the edge of the sky itself, while the earth below grew cold and the seas froze into great blocks of ice. Phaeton cried out to his father for help, but the sun god could do nothing. It seemed that the whole earth must perish, and so it might have done had not Zeus, watching always from Olympus, seized one of his thunderbolts and hurled it with deadly aim at the boy. Phaeton fell from the chariot with a great cry and plunged down to earth, falling to his death at a place called Eridanus. There, water nymphs wept with sorrow, cooling his burned body with their tears, trying in vain to revive him. It is said that Zeus took pity on the mourners and turned them into poplar trees, their tears into drops of amber. There they stand forever, sighing in the wind, cooling the earth around them with their fluttering leaves. Helios set out sadly to look for his runaway chariot. He found it high in the mountains of Ethiopia, parching the land for miles around, as the four horses stamped and whinnied in confusion. Helios threw his cloak over their wild eyes to calm them, and led them quietly back to their stable in the west, flying slowly and carefully high above the usual path. And for the rest of that day, darkness covered the land. And that's from a book called Gods, Men, and Monsters. So, love this book. One I've had since I was a kid.
Gods, Men, and Monsters, Russ, right?
From the Greek myths, of course. Now, there's so many other myths, too. And, I mean, it'd be great to have people share those. Maybe in chat, they could mention at least some of the names of the stories that they might know about the sun or about an eclipse of the sun. There's plenty of them out there. So
I could contribute a little one, if you may.
Yes, go Milton.
Okay. Well, I'm from Bolivia originally, South America, and in South America, we have a very strong belief in the sun, right? And just briefly, I'd like to share my screen if you allow me.
Yeah, if studio can do that. Emmanuel, Todd, can we allow Milton to do that?
As you work that out, probably I should start saying that around there, the sun has a different name. It's called Inti, I-N-T-I. And for that culture, let's say the sun is very powerful. Let's see. And this is a picture I'd like to share with you. On the center of that gate, you can actually see the picture of the sun as it was envisioned by the natives of my country. Inti is the creator of everything, and that's why the position is in the middle of the gate. This is called actually the Sun Gate. And on this date, exactly, the sun will come out and, will go directly through that door that you see, the gate that you see.
Because it was solstice.
It's the winter solstice.
About 10 hours ago.
Exactly.
So yeah, okay, brilliant.
And so people go there, of course, not this year because of social distancing, but people go there by thousands, and they receive the first rays of the sun on this day. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. It's part of the South American culture, and I hope you liked it.
Absolutely, Milton, and that's exactly, what we really want these star parties to be, for you lot to come in as well, and share stuff like that. I mean, that was there's a whole number of monuments. Can give me a thumbs up if you can see the live feed again. Yeah, there are a whole stack of monuments around the globe which have these solar alignments. There's the tomb, I think, in Ireland, where it's a large dome, earth-covered tomb, but there's a very narrow stone-lined tunnel into a small chamber inside. And I suspect it's on a solstice rather than an equinox, but on the morning, the sunshine beams straight the way down the tunnel. Then just down the road from me in Wiltshire, in the southwest of England, we've got Stonehenge, all sorts of astronomical alignments, but mainly they were measuring the solstice and the equinox, because that was what really drove them, to start a season of planting. So just a reminder, this might be Ring of Fire annular eclipse, but quite rarely for some people in some time zones, certainly you lot over in the USA, this eclipse has occurred on the day of solstice, which was actually Saturday the 20th. It was 09 UTC, 21 UTC, something like that, about 10 hours ago. So this is a lot of people call it summer solstice, but that's kind of a bit rude. As you heard from Milton there, down in Bolivia and South America, it's the winter solstice. So it's far better to call this the June solstice, but it's basically when Earth's northern hemisphere is tilted most towards the sun. Now, Andrew Dumbleton, SLU's ops manager, and myself, when we're operating the Canary 5 solar telescope, we notice this because our clamshell domes, they open on one side and then the other. And the way I installed it, you've got one set of shutters on the north, one set of shutters on the south. At the moment, we only have to open the north shutters a little bit. We reach equinox and we have to open both shutters a little bit. And then when we hit September, then we only have to open the south shutters. So we notice these little changes, and as the weeks progress, we have to open it. It opens in kind of notches. And we have to add a notch on a particular day and a certain time of day. Sometimes, if we're not keeping an absolute close eye on it, you might notice that the stream goes black. That's when we haven't opened it quite enough, when it's kind of setting or anything like that. But Andrew did bring the Canary 5 solar telescope online yesterday as a little special bonus. We don't normally operate it at the weekends, but so we could see the sun on June solstice. So summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, winter solstice in the sun. And you might think, well, hold on a second, the longest day, how can summer just be beginning on the longest day? Well, don't forget that astronomical seasons are different to meteorological seasons. So meteorological summer started at the beginning of the month, because meteorologists like to work in whole months, all right? This is one of the reasons why meteorological seasons always start at the end and beginning of a month. And they base it on average temperatures. So that's what they base it on. But in astronomy, the date for June solstice can actually change from, I think it's the 20th to 22nd, or it may be slightly longer than that. So it changes depending on what year it is. I think we've had 2 lots of the 20th of June and maybe another 20th of June next year. But it does flex. But anyway, listen, let's get back to what we have up on our screens at the moment. I think this is an absolutely glorious view. This is from Mashur Ahmed Al-Wadat, who is a professor of astrophysics at the University of Sharjah. They actually run the planetarium there. Now, if you ever are fortunate enough to travel to United Arab Emirates, make sure you go to the Emirate of Sharjah, where this is. And they have got one of the most extraordinary planetariums you have ever seen. It cost an absolute arm and a leg. They have a small dome, but it's incredibly well equipped just outside the planetarium, and that's where this feed is coming from at the moment. And I think so far they've given us the best views we've had, I think, today. That is absolutely glorious. And I just want to give a shout out actually to, it's Mohammed Fadil Talafa, who's the guy who's operating this for us today. Now, we have had other feeds. We've had the, let's just hop over actually to the Dubai Astronomy Group. Wow, look at that. They've got 5 of their members' feeds. So the Dubai Astronomy Group is probably one of the most established groups of amateur astronomers. And to call them amateur, I mean, it's just doesn't do them justice. But they do outreach across the entire region. But they travel out into the desert. You know, the first spotting. In fact, the next couple of days is going to be really, really important. Obviously, in the Muslim world, because the new moon, or the sighting of the new moon, is what starts the next calendar month. So, one of the things that I've often wondered is, and I've asked this of some of the guys at the Dubai Astronomy Group, does that observation of the new moon, the new waxing crescent moon, have to be visual with eyes, or can it be using optical aids? And this actually changed a couple of years ago when they actually made a proclamation that it could be a sighting through telescopes. And one of the things I've often wondered, I should have asked them before the show, we are seeing the new moon now. We're seeing the youngest new moon that it's ever possible to see when it's silhouetted during a solar eclipse of any kind. Now, I suspect that this is not classed as that sighting, but maybe we've got a member who's in the Zoom webinar who knows anything about that, but it would be interesting. But anyway, over the next few days, they're going to be out in the desert making these sightings of the incredibly young moon. And then that gets the go ahead and the official thumbs up to say, okay, it's the start of the next calendar month in the Muslim calendar. But these are absolutely cracking feeds. Now, these are all live, of course. So what we're seeing is some of them, so the middle one at the top, Bala, looks like, it looks like it's covering more of the sun. Actually, the one down in the bottom left, I won't even try and pronounce that one, but you can see it's still kind of covering about half the sun. One down on the bottom right, though, it's, you know, the moon is edging away to the side. So if we go back to what we were talking about right at the beginning, we can almost locate these visually to how close they are to that path of annularity. And we know that the one down in the bottom right is further away. Where is it? Salala. And we know that the one in bottom left, we know that that's closer to the path of annularity because they get a deeper eclipse. It can also be along the line as well, of course. So they could be further east and west, and that's going to affect that. Now, I have had some word, I don't know if Andrew's around at the moment, but I have had word that Sirsa in India is suffering from clouds, partial clouds. Now, we are keeping a very close eye on the feed that we were expecting from there. It'll be an awful shame.
Oh, sorry
Yes.
to disturb, but now this Dubai Astronomy Group feed comes from this India
Which one?
channel.
Sorry, which one?
So we lost now the India transmission. So
Did
Do
you
I have
say
it from-
that? Did you say that the Dubai Astronomy Group are using an Indian feed?
yeah,
Which one? Do you know?
or on the sleuth page.
Ah, right.
So now
Okay.
the Dubai comes from one.
Okay. So I haven't. Andrew hasn't alerted me to that. So let's just hop over and have a quick look because I wasn't aware of that. So thank you
Hey,
very
Paul.
much.
Paul, there
Yeah.
was one question, and I don't know if you have thoughts on it.
Yes, go.
One of my space campers asked that feed in the bottom left, it had a white spot in the center. Any thoughts on that? Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do. Let's just hop back to it. It's purely the exposure that they're using for the camera setup. So all of these are using special filters that actually filter out the vast majority of the sunlight that's hitting the camera. And that particular one, the way they've set up their camera and telescope just means that it's kind of burning out a little bit, not literally, but it's saturating the image. The sun is too bright at its center. So that's all that is. There's nothing ominous there. But anyway, thank you for that, Yari. I just checked those feeds, and there was that you can do a quick snap of this. It's not going to be great for the poster, I guess, your poster. But Andrew, maybe you can give me an update at some point. Just butt in. Have we got any other questions from anybody at the moment for this Ring of Fire annular eclipse?
Well, I was just going to show you real quickly. I was inspired by Milton, and here's one of the oldest representations of the sun and moon. Just came in the mail today from a craftsman, and it is supposed to be the Nebra sky disk. So we've got a view of the sun and the moon, and the solstice represented, the angles and things. So I thought that was kind of fun.
What did you call it, Paul? I don't think I've heard of that before.
The Nebra, Nebra. Sky disk was found in Germany, and I'm trying to think how far back it dates. Something like, gosh, several thousand years BCE, and so it's supposed to be the oldest accurate representation of the cosmos, and it's got, they think, the Pleiades on it and some other things, maybe the solar ship down at the bottom. So people were interested, as you mentioned, and Jenny and I got a chance to see Newgrange, so we're kind of interested in archaeoastronomy. So it's fun to see how people captured this. Before they had SLU, they had to do something, right? So
exactly,
exactly.
They pass it around the campfire, presumably. But thank you so much for that, because I've never heard of that one. And archaeoastronomy is a subject I could very easily get into. I was fascinated by archaeology. The first thing I ever wanted to be when I was 6 was a geologist. Then I found out you could be a paleontologist, but then I also found out you could be an archaeologist. And I'm continuously digging up stuff in my old house in the garden and stuff. But you know, archaeoastronomy and being so close to Stonehenge, and Helen Avery, SLU astronomy,